My name is Angela Ruggiero, and this is my husband, Nunzio Ruggiero. We've been married for 40 years. This is our son, Joseph. He's 29 years old, and he has two older sisters, Valentina and Daniela. And Joseph has truly been the heart of our family. He was first diagnosed with Glut deficiency, diagnosed by Dr. Vivo. It's been a journey. He's always been a very loving and affectionate young man, and people have always been drawn to him, and that's served him well over the years. We always had watchful eyes in school, and even now that he attends a day hab, they're always looking out for Joe. Him and his dad have a tremendous bond. It's been a beautiful thing to watch it blossom and change as he's grown. They're truly best friends, and his favorite thing to do is to go upstate and hang out with his dad. Well, you could say that we were alerted right when he was born in the hospital. Joseph he wasn't breathing right, and they immediately took him to the neonatal unit. And he recovered quickly, and they kept him there for our stay. I think we stayed one day longer than usual. And I remember having a conversation with the doctor that delivered him, and he said that Joseph was more jittery than most newborns. And I had noticed the same thing. I wasn't a doctor, but this was my third child, and I felt like there was something not right. And it just remained with me, and it was almost like we were waiting for something to happen. He was 2.5 months when he had this horrible seizure. He was in his swing, and his arms and legs started moving in that repetitive motion, and we rushed him to the ER, and he was stable by the time we got there, and they told us to bring him to his pediatrician, and the pediatrician called a doctor at Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, New York, and we met a Dr. Wolf there. And he admitted him and kept him there for 5 days. He did a lot of testing, which all came back normal. And he sent us home. He put him on an anti-seizure medication, and we went home. At that point, a Dr. Ronald Jacobson took over his case, and he cared for Joe. I think the time he was 3 months up until 7 months. And he also put him in the hospital an additional 3 times. He was having these body jerks at the time, and they were just ongoing all day long. His eyes would roll upward at times, and Dr. Jacobson said he was having hundreds of seizures a day, which was terrifying. By the time we got to 8 months old, Dr. Jacobson called us and said that there was nothing else he could do for Joseph, and he was referring his case to a very well-known pediatric neurologist, Dr. Vivo, and he said that he would be the best able to figure out what was going on with Joe, and we shouldn't worry because he was in excellent hands. So we went and met Dr. Vivo, and I remember us sitting in the office, and he was talking about his case, and I just became fixated on the fact that the doctor knew that there was someone out there with this problem. And then there was our little Jojo sitting right in front of him. It was miraculous, I thought, that we should be the ones that he would be able to help. Dr. Vivo put him in the hospital. He did his own testing. He did another spinal tap because the previous spinal taps all showed a very low glucose level in the spinal fluid. And again, same thing happened. He told us pretty quickly that he was going to put him on a ketogenic diet, and that would help the seizures. And I couldn't believe that he would already have something to help him with. We only, were there a couple of days, and he said after he starts the diet, around the 3rd to the 5th day, his seizures should stop. And I don't know if I believed it at that time, but we went home, and the 3rd day came on the diet, and the seizures stopped. And that was, I can't even describe that feeling, because that was probably the first time he was not having seizures in 9 months. But our journey with Dr. DeVivo, it was just beginning. I mean, his seizures stopped, but our journey was starting. Our family owes so much to Dr. DeVivo. Over the past 29 years, we've really become like family. And it's always so nice for us to get together. With Joseph being the first diagnosed, and we were the first parents dealing with this issue, the care and guidance and friendship that Dr. DeVivo showed to us was a lifeline, and we will be eternally grateful to him. It was frightening. I mean, I don't think we could take it in really right away. He was finally better on the diet, and as time went on, it kind of sunk in. We were kind of like detectives trying to figure out what was happening with Joe. We would try to figure out patterns. He would sometimes have a very active day, and then the next day he would be out of it. He would be exhausted. He would be crying, whining. I guess that was like a type of an episode. Or he might get very stressed and upset, and that would kind of throw him into an episode like that. Or he would have an episode, and then a couple of days later he would get a stomach virus. So we were always trying to piece together patterns. Dr. DeVivo made himself fully available to us. I would call him, and every evening when I called him, he'd call me back, and I had a special place where I would sit in my living room and talk to Dr. DeVivo about whatever I was noticing. And he would listen so intently, and then at the end of the conversation he would say, "We are learning from you." And it was like such a big responsibility. I wish I was a doctor so I could notice more things and tell him more of what I had witnessed and seen with Joe. But there was one particular afternoon, I got a phone call from a mother who had a child that was recently diagnosed by Dr. DeVivo, and she phoned me, and it was such conflicting emotions that I was feeling, because I felt so bad for this mother and her child and their family, but at the same time I had all these things in my head that I had noticed about Joe, all these theories, and we talked, and we just talked about our sons and what we saw and what they did and their personalities, and we saw a lot of things that they had in common. And it was such a gift to me that day, and it was really like a bonding for the two of us. And we always, especially in the early years, we would always phone each other and talk and kind of give each other pep talks. And I even spoke to her a couple of years ago. Things like that you don't forget. It really did become like our life's work to find out what made Joe tick in our own way. I mean, really, most of it just we would throw at Dr. DeVivo. Even though it still seemed so strange to us, yes, it was this thing, but we knew nothing about it, and nobody knew anything about it. But we just focused in the beginning there. He started on his diet, and it was really that special formula that he was drinking, and he adjusted to it quickly. He was being bottle fed, and he had no seizures. I mean, what could be better than that? He had no seizures, and our family was like, I think, collectively breathed a sigh of relief. He started to notice all the food that he wasn't being offered, and that was one of the most difficult times in my life, and I'm sure in Joseph's life. All he wanted was a cookie or a piece of bread or a piece of fruit, and any one of those things could have thrown him off of his diet and had him he would have seizures. And I was very firm with him, but he was just a baby. He was only 2, and there was so much crying, and it really, I don't know how we got through it, but we did get through it, one day at a time. I guess he just got used to the facts. I don't know, but that's a moment that I really like to forget about. Our girls were also very young, and at times I had to send them upstairs to their room if they were going to have a special treat. It was strange sending them up with food, but that was what worked for us. And then there were many other times that they couldn't have any special treat because their brother was there, and that wouldn't be fair. I think that it made our daughters much more conscious of people and their issues. They definitely learned what was important in life and what wasn't important. We were basically a normal family, except when Joe needed our undivided attention, that was what we needed to do, and that was the girls' reality. You know, that was what they became used to, and they just went with it. The girls are married, and each has 2 young boys of their own, so we have 4 very young grandsons. They definitely, my daughters, have their priorities straight, and we're very proud of them, as we are of Joseph. So I think the whole experience, having Joe as their brother, was a good one. And plus, he was at a point where he wasn't exactly on the ketogenic diet the way he should have been. It got too hard. So coming not off of the diet, but not really doing the diet the way he was supposed to. And then puberty was just very difficult. He had a lot of episodes. He was very fatigued, and he also went through this thing where his legs would give out. That didn't happen for too long. I think about a year or so that would happen. He'd be running and his legs would just kind of give out on him. I don't know, I think a lot of it just become a blur because I blocked it out. It just took time, you know. We kind of had to readjust things, and as he grew, and I just kept thinking, that Dr. DeVivo said, I think when he was about 21, the brain doesn't demand as much glucose, and that's what was fixated in my head. If we could just get to that age, but it was a lot of years to get to that age. And again, I really don't know how we did it, just one day at a time, and a lot of support around us. Yes, he goes to a day hab, and they do activities. They go out, you know, into the town, wherever, shopping, movies. They just do all different activities. They have a wonderful staff there, and he really does want to go. And if there's a morning when he doesn't want to go, I know something's up. Sometimes I think that's the worst part right now, is the fatigue that will all of a sudden, you know, be prevalent in the morning. And he looks exhausted, like as if I don't know what he did the day before, you know. And then I have to, you know, keep him home. Sometimes he doesn't like that. It's definitely easier. I mean, I've seen his strength, but definitely over the years, I mean, he couldn't walk very far when he was about 12 or 13. But now he'll walk. His dad, you know, his dad's great. He'll bring him to Walmart, and they'll just for the exercise, they'll walk. They'll walk all around, and they do that every weekend. They go to Walmart just to walk, and I said, but what do you do in Walmart? And my husband's like, I want to make him walk, you know, like, and that's true, because otherwise, you know, but he really has built up his stamina. I don't know what that's attributed to. That has gotten a lot better. I mean, it's not where you would want it, but it's really a lot better.
And he does ride an ATV too.
Of course life is good. I mean, you have to learn to be flexible maybe, because you might make some plans and they're not having a good day, and then you just have to put those plans aside. It's not easy sometimes, and over the years you do, you know, you get used to it, but we definitely, you know, we put Joe first, that's for sure, and sometimes we take turns putting him first because we need time for ourselves. Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean,
I think he has a good memory. He remembers stuff that happened years and years ago. Yeah, he does remember stuff, right, Joe? He remembers stuff. Yeah.
He remembers what he wants to remember.
Yeah,
you know,
that too.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, sometimes he has trouble remembering his address or phone number, but definitely remembers. I mean, even when he was 4 years old, he used to know. We'd be in the car, and by the emblem on the back of a car, he knew what every car was. He was 4 years old because he had many car books. He was so interested in cars, and that's all we would do was look at the car books, and he would remember those cars, and he would say, that's, you know, whatever it was, Ford, a Corvette. He knew at 4 years old. So I'm thinking that it's something that interests him, then he was going to remember it, you know. And so now, of course, I guess that's gotten better. But again, I think it's selective, you know.
Yeah, he doesn't remember the way to go home when I drive and stuff, where to turn. Not really.
Well, on the weekends he does. That's
Well,
for
weekend he does. Like, you know, he loves to go upstate. So he starts on Monday, if he were going for the weekend. Just loves there. I don't know why. Why you like there so much? Why? Tell them why you like.
I think it's because he's with you,
It's
one-on-one,
quiet?
you know, wherever
Yeah.
his
Was
dad
it
is.
just me and you?
Yeah,
Yeah, is that why?
yeah.
It's not that
and he knows
hard.
his food very well. If you know
right.
you know if he goes to a restaurant and you put a plate of pasta in front of him, he knows if it's good or it's bad just by looking at it. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
It's true. And we've been to a lot of Italian restaurants because that's what Joe wants to eat. Italian food. Right, Joe? He just smells it and he's like, I don't want it. I don't understand. And then we'll taste it and we're like, okay. Plus his dad spoiled him because his dad cooks for him. He's a very good cook. And he has all kinds of pasta with his dad, right?
Yep.
Just what I had said before about the being flexible and just learning to have to put some plans aside when your loved one isn't feeling well. Also, it's very important, especially early on in the journey, to have a support system. It's just a lot to go through if you're on your own. That's very difficult. But the most important thing is just to remember to love them just the way they are. That's
Absolutely.
like really the most important thing. And what I really would like to say to those that are newly diagnosed, that they are all so very, very special, and we feel like we know all of them. Your heart and your gentleness and your sensitivity and your sense of humor and your strength, it all transcends any disabilities, any challenges that you might face. And we are in true admiration of all of you, as we are of Joseph. God bless.